But we're seeing so much mixed reporting around Florian Wirtz today that it's hard to understand and figure out quite who is right and who is wrong. And I'll give you a good example of that now. Two posts around Florian Wirtz, very quick with very different takes. Let's start off with Cave Solakal of Sky. And he said, Liverpool are not working on a deal to sign Florian Wirtz from Bayer Leverkusen at the moment. They did not meet the player in England yesterday. He's a player they've been aware of for some time, and in the event of there being any prospect of him wanting to move to England, they would be interested. As things stand, the indications appear that he wants to remain in Germany, whether by staying at Bayer Leverkusen or moving to Bayern Munich. Liverpool will continue to monitor the situation. So that was one post, and then almost at the same time, David Ornstein posts, and David Ornstein said, Liverpool make contact with Florian Wirtz camp to express interest in signing playmaker if he leaves Bayer Leverkusen and is keen on moving to England. The Liverpool administration, long-standing but unclear on the plans to sign him or for him to leave Germany. But then you contrast that with an outlet that his name I cannot pronounce, so excuse me, but they're an official website in Germany with great links that have nearly 2 million followers, and they said, one second, they said the destination in England was not Manchester City headquarters. Guardiola would have loved to welcome the Wirtz family there, but there was no appointment or meeting with Wirtz or his parents. Instead, the Wirtz family and representatives met with Liverpool. This story, by the way, has been backed up quite a bit. This one here from Kicker said, Liverpool can easily match Bayer Leverkusen's asking price for Florian Wirtz. Different publication in Germany. Bild said Florian Wirtz and his family were with Liverpool officials for over an hour in Blackpool. And we do know we love Blackpool. Just ask Virgil. The race for Florian Wirtz has become intense, said Kicker. Liverpool are now also involved, said Christian Falk. The English champions and their coach Arne Slot are extremely interested in strengthening their squad with Wirtz. Then we have Christian Falk again saying Florian Wirtz flew to Blackpool to meet Liverpool officials yesterday. He then flew to Manchester. Whether he met with City officials remains to be seen. So see what I mean on this? So much conflicting reporting. But one thing that is consistent is that at least Liverpool are looking at the Wirtz situation. So whether we've met with him, whether he came to Blackpool coincidentally or not, isn't for me to say. But for what it's worth, this one is that I will definitely believe it when I see it, because £126 million is the number. That's the number that Manchester City are apparently willing to pay. Bayern Munich don't want to go above 80, but why would he be at Blackpool? Why would he have come to meet with Liverpool if there was no intent there? It feels like somebody's telling porcupines somewhere. And I was sitting back watching Sky last night, and they just don't mention Liverpool in any of these stories. So they were talking about Huijsen, they were talking about Chelsea and Real Madrid, talking about Wirtz, Manchester City and Bayern Munich. It's almost as if they just don't want to include Liverpool in any of these stories or links, and it pisses me off. Corbyn said, I don't want another joke of a summer where we have a saga and the player doesn't even come. Need a big summer. Wirtz doesn't seem likely to me. Look, for what it's worth, do I think we sign Florian Wirtz? My instinct says no, because, well, a couple of things. One, it isn't the position that you and I and most of us sitting here would say we are desperately in need of. We're talking striker, we're talking left back, maybe right back, and certainly centre back. For me, Wirtz would be great. If you moved on Elliott and you threw a load of money in on top for Wirtz, on top of whatever we got for Elliott, that would be great. But how big a priority is he? And how big a play have we made for him? All that's going to come out, I guess, over the coming days. But what we haven't seen is a blank denial of any interest from anybody around the Liverpool circles or any journalist covering Liverpool. So I'm really on the fence on this one. I believe that we're probably being kept informed on the situation. But let me just put it straight to the chat. I'm going to ask you straight out, do you think FSG would pay the money for Wirtz? And we'll see how people feel about that. We'll leave that running while I go through some more of the news, and we'll come back and check on it in a while. And by the way, folks, if you are in with us and you haven't yet hit that like button, please do. And if you haven't subscribed, we'd love you to do that as well. Said, scared to get excited about Wirtz. Ornstein has been way off lately regarding Liverpool transfers. It's a really difficult one to get a read on, isn't it? Because as I've mentioned, so many different reporters with so many different takes. The German side really seems to be pushing Liverpool's interest. And what kind of gets me about this is Christian Falk, as we know, covers Bayern extensively. And he's been the one talking about Liverpool meeting with him and Liverpool being a realistic possibility and Liverpool, their interest worrying Bayern Munich. And that's what makes me intrigued by it all. We know that Liverpool don't really leak stuff and that the English side has been, pretty tame with regards to break and transfer stories. It always seems to be on the European side of it. And I just, as much as I want to believe it, I just cannot see us dropping that type of money on Wirtz. But is he worth it? Yeah, probably. Genuinely, if you're going to say to me, is he a 100 million plus footballer? Yes, he is. He is probably the best creative force behind an attacker, or at the best in Europe of finding space between the lines. He'd be incredible. And every single Liverpool fan on the planet would love Florian Wirtz. But I don't want to come on here and get everyone's hopes up only for us to have another Caicedo situation again. So we'll wait and see how this one progresses. But certainly feels like Liverpool have let it be known that they're interested. But lots of conjecture about whether he does want to stay in Germany. And because Leverkusen seem to be really pissed off at Bayern Munich. If you look at the reports in the German media, they seem to feel like they've been too aggressive in their pursuit of Wirtz and that they would prefer to sell him outside the Bundesliga. And that makes sense. I know they're going to lose a lot of players this summer, but they're not. I imagine they look at Bayern Munich the same way we look at Real Madrid. Will they ever stop? Will they ever piss off trying to just take all the best players from the league? So for them, moving him outside the Bundesliga makes a lot of sense. And if that's the case, and he isn't going to stay in Germany, you would hope that we're at the front of that queue. But again, will John spend the money? Wirtz will be at Bayern Munich. Liverpool are just trying to give us fans hope. We all know FSG aren't doing this deal. But here's the thing again. Right now, Stevie boy, as Liverpool fans, it's been a very up and down last week or so. So we've got the Premier League sorted out. Then we've had the whole Trent drama, kind of taken some of the goodness out of that. I struggle to see if they're briefing on this one that we are looking at them or interested, how a big downer they think is going to pan out in anything other than frustration again. Surely they know that the Caicedo situation pissed everyone off and was a mess. Surely they know that we're all tired of our name being linked, but ultimately never making the big jump or paying what it takes to get a proven star. So if they do want to make a signal of intent, well then this type of signing would be the very one to do it. But if I'm a betting man, I feel like exactly what you said will happen. We'll get he wants to stay in Germany stuff, but Liverpool are there. And if, like the Lenny Yoro stuff for Real Madrid, when it was, if Real Madrid don't pull the trigger on that, Liverpool will be there, until they didn't, and then all of a sudden we weren't, because when push came to shove, they wouldn't pony up the money. Logan Toon said, I think that FSG need to do it so they have something to throw back into our faces for the next 5 years when we complain they don't spend. Well, one question that I get asked, probably more than any other question when I'm doing one of our live shows, is, do you think that they were really willing to pay the money for Caicedo? That's a question that I get asked over and over again. And it surprises people when I answer it, because yes, I do. I just don't see the upside of what they did and the way it panned out. It made the situation look a lot worse. But with Michael Edwards involved, like I've said, I do think we're going to be a little bit more calculated and measured in this. If Wirtz was the position we needed the most, if we were all sitting here as Liverpool fans saying we've been crying out for a player in this position for 2 years, then I think maybe. But it isn't. And that's where I get confused. We'd all love him. Hell, I'd be doing cartwheels, fat wheels, whatever you want to call me trying to do a cartwheel, if we did it. Absolutely, it would be a signal of intent that I think would put Liverpool as the favourite to win the Premier League again next year. And I would say one of the, if not the favourite for the Champions League. That's how big a transformational signing I think he would be. And it would transform us. Now, we also know that one of the factors that Liverpool have been concerned about losing Trent was a creativity problem. And we don't currently have enough of that in our team from midfield. A lot of our creativity is coming from fullbacks or even Virgil pinging diagonal balls. So if you put in a Florian Wirtz into that, somebody who can operate between the lines and somebody who can chip in with goals and assists, it would absolutely transform and make up for all the shortcomings in the area that Trent's leaving. He's not a right back, of course, but with the creativity and the space to play between the lines. We spoke just the other night about the frustrations we still have as Liverpool fans playing against the low block, and I think Wirtz would be a type of player that would be able to open that up. But I don't want to be a downer, but I just don't want people to get their hopes up either, because we've all been stung many, many times. Even just look at Hoyson. Just that situation alone, I already feel a little bit deflated about, because I had really high hopes that he was going to be coming into Liverpool and it would have been a big signing for us. But now that looks like it's off the table unless something changes quickly.